I checked into the hotel on a Tuesday. The kind of place that felt like it had stories in the wallpaper. A little old, a little too quiet, with carpets that muffled even your thoughts. I didn't come here to rest. I came here to hide. A breakup. A burned out job. An empty apartment that suddenly felt too loud in its silence. I needed a place where I didn't have to be anything to anyone. Just a key. A room. A door I could lock. They gave me room 4. Second floor. End of the hall. The girl at the desk smiled without her eyes and said, "You'll have just one neighbor. Room 5. That night, I unpacked nothing. I lay on the bed, stared at the ceiling, and let my body feel the weight of being nowhere. The hum of the radiator. The creak of the pipes. The slow, steady ache of being alone on purpose. And then, I heard her. Soft at first. Almost nothing. Just water. The sound of a shower running in room 5. Late. Too late for anything casual. And then, beneath the stream, a sound I almost missed. Crying. Not sobbing. Not loud. Just leaking. The kind of crying you do when your body forgets to fight it. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. I just listened. And somehow, in the quiet of my own wreckage, someone else's sadness felt heavier than mine. The next morning, I passed her door on the way to the stairs. Room 5. Closed. Unmarked. Still. No sound. No sign of life. I thought about knocking. Then I didn't. That night, the same. Water. Crying. Not every hour. Not every second. Just long enough to remind me she was still there. That something inside that room wasn't sleeping. And I wondered, what kind of pain makes a woman cry in the shower every night, but never once be heard in daylight? By the end of the week, I learned her patterns. Lights on at 7. Off by 10. Shower at 1:15 a.m. Always. No visitors. No noise. No voice. I never saw her face. Only the soft shuffle of slippers past the peephole. Only the shadow of someone trying very hard to stay invisible. I started leaving little things outside her door. A chamomile tea bag. A wrapped chocolate. Nothing with a note. Nothing personal. Just presents. I didn't expect her to say thank you. I didn't expect her to say anything. But each time, by morning, the gift was gone. And in some strange way, so was a little bit of my own sadness. I left a note on the 6th night. Just 5 words, printed in my smallest handwriting. You're not as invisible as you feel. No name. No room number. No pressure. Just a truth I hoped would land gently. By morning, it was gone. Like the others. No reply. But that night, when the water started running, the crying didn't come. For the first time, there was only water. The silence felt louder than the weeping. I waited. Listened. And when I heard nothing, I almost missed the ache. It was strange, how quickly we adapt to other people's pain, when it gives shape to our own. The next day, I loitered by the vending machine, longer than necessary, just to catch a glimpse. But she never came. Only the cleaning woman. Only the ice machine's slow cough. Room 5 stayed shut. Tightly. A door that looked afraid. That night, I waited again. 1:13 a.m. 1:14. 1:15. Water. Faint. Reliable. And then, something different. Not sobbing. Not weeping. A voice. Soft. Low. Rhythmic. Like a prayer. Or maybe, a whisper. I leaned closer to the wall. At first, it made no sense. Murmured words beneath rushing water. But then I caught it. A single phrase. Repeated. You said it wouldn't hurt. You said it wouldn't hurt. You said. Over and over. Like a broken promise bleeding through tile and steam. I sat up in bed. Hands cold. Heart too fast. Because this wasn't healing. This was haunting. Not by ghosts. But by memory. The next morning, I left a flower. One from the gas station. Wrapped in plastic. Still damp from the fridge. I placed it carefully on the floor. Waited 2 seconds. And knocked. 3 times. Soft. Intentional. No answer. Not even the shift of footsteps. Not even a breath behind the door. But when I passed later that night, the flower was gone. No note. No change. Just gone. I didn't know what I wanted. To help her? To reach her? Or maybe just to know that I wasn't the only one in this strange hotel who couldn't put herself back together. A few days passed. She kept whispering. Some nights, full sentences. Some nights, just a name. Elena, or Emily, or maybe Emma. Sometimes just, don't look at me, please don't look at me. Like she was reliving something, again and again. As if memory had teeth and kept biting in the same place. One night, I sat on the hallway floor. Back against the wallpaper. Legs crossed. Room 5 just to my right. I didn't say anything. I just sat. For over an hour. Hoping she'd hear me breathing. Hoping she'd know someone was out here. Alive. Real. At 2:03 a.m., her door creaked. Only a sliver. I didn't look. Didn't move. But I felt her. Standing just behind it. Watching. Waiting. I whispered, barely. It's okay. The door shut. Not loud. Not fast. Just, softly. And then I heard the lock turn. But this time, just once. Not like before. This time, it sounded less like defense, and more like trust. It was tucked under my door the next morning. Small. Plain. Red. A matchbook from the hotel bar downstairs, the one I hadn't visited once. Inside, 5 matches left. And in tiny writing on the inside flap. You heard me. No signature. No name. No other words. I held it like it might burn me anyway. Because it wasn't just a message. It was confirmation. That I wasn't imagining her. That I wasn't inventing the whispers, or the sobs, or the ghost of grief I kept brushing against at night. She knew I heard her. And she wanted me to know it. I knocked that afternoon. Not hard. Just once. No answer. But I didn't expect one. Instead, I slid a note beneath her door. I'm still here, and I'm not going anywhere. Not because I was trying to save her. Not because I could. But because loneliness becomes a little less lethal when someone simply doesn't walk away. That night, the water came later than usual. 1:35 a.m. Then the whisper. Different this time. One word. Repeated. Stop. 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 The rhythm frantic. Uneven. Like someone trying to push memory back into its cage. I sat up in bed, heart racing. And for the first time, I felt something else in the room. Not just sadness. Fear. Real. Immediate. I pressed my ear to the wall. Nothing but water now. And something that sounded like, shifting. Movement. Not hers. A different weight. I didn't sleep after that. Just stared at the ceiling, waiting for the sound to return. It didn't. In the morning, I went downstairs. Ordered tea I didn't want from the hotel bar, just to ask the bartender, casually, "Is that room usually occupied?" He looked up. "Room 5? I nodded. "Sometimes." "Who's staying there now?" He shrugged. "Woman, quiet, been here a few weeks." Then added, with a pause, "Why?" I hesitated. "Just wondering. I think I heard something strange the other night." He narrowed his eyes. "Like what?" I shook my head. "Nothing, water, maybe." He watched me. Then said, "You know she never comes down here, right?" I figured. She gets food delivered, leaves the cash at the desk, never talks to anyone, just disappears. I asked the girl at the front desk later that day. "What's her name?" She hesitated, checked her screen. Then said, "She checked in under M. Klein, no first name." "Does anyone visit her?" She frowned. "Not that I've seen." That night, I stared at the matchbook again. "You heard me." "Yes. I did." And now I couldn't unhear her. I left another note. "If you want to talk, leave something under my door, anything." I didn't sign it. But I knew she'd know. At 3:12 a.m., I heard a knock. Not on my door. On hers. 3 quick taps. Then footsteps walking away. I crept to my peephole. Saw a man's back. Coat collar raised. Shoulders hunched. He didn't knock again. Just walked down the hallway and turned the corner. I waited. Watched. Listened. Then looked toward her door. It didn't open. No light. No voice. Just that same thick, waiting silence. But now I knew, someone else had been hearing her too. And maybe, he didn't want me to. I knocked. Not the way I had before. This time, I meant it. 2 short knocks. 1 long. Like a pattern, like a promise. I waited. Listened. Nothing. I turned to leave. But just as my foot touched the carpet, the door opened. A sliver. Silent. Breathing. And then, her voice. Low. Flat. Not a whisper, not a sob, just, "Come in." The room was dim. Curtains drawn. Lamp on the nightstand flickering like it couldn't decide to live or die. It smelled like lavender and something older, like paper, or grief. She sat on the edge of the bed. Thin. Still. Wearing a sweatshirt too big and socks pulled over the hem of her leggings. Her face wasn't what I imagined. Not broken. Not bruised. Just blank. A woman who'd learned how to vanish without ever leaving the room. I stepped inside. Closed the door gently behind me. She didn't look at me. Didn't offer a smile. Didn't say thank you or why are you here. She just said, "You've been listening." I nodded. She finally looked up. Eyes red, but dry. Lips cracked. Voice steady. "I thought maybe you weren't real." "I am," I whispered. "Not many people are." There was no chair, so I sat on the floor. She didn't flinch. Didn't adjust. She just sat, hands folded in her lap like she was waiting for a verdict. I didn't give her one. Instead, I asked the quietest question I could. "Do you want me to leave?" A pause. A long one. Then, "No." For a while, we said nothing. Just shared the same air. The same stillness. Her TV was unplugged. Her suitcase, still zipped. No pictures. No food. No phone. It felt like a waiting room for someone who never expected to be called in. She broke the silence first. I don't like sleeping. Why not? I dream too close to the surface. It wakes me up. A pause. Were you dreaming that night? The first time I heard you? No. That wasn't a dream. She picked at a thread in her sleeve. That was a memory. Then, like a confession, I told him to stop. But he didn't hear me. I didn't ask who. I didn't need to. The way her eyes darted to the bathroom door was enough. I sat up straighter. Is he the one who knocked? Her eyes hardened. For a moment, I saw something sharp flash through her. Then it faded. I changed the locks. That was all she said. After a while, she reached under the bed and pulled out a notebook. Plain cover. Frayed edge. She handed it to me. I didn't open it. She said, "That's everything I was too afraid to say out loud." Then she stood. Not quickly. Not dramatically. Just stood. Walked to the door. Opened it. Held it. "I don't need you to save me," she said. "I just need someone to know I was here." I nodded. Clutched the notebook to my chest. She looked at me for a long time. Then, so softly I almost missed it. "You can come back tomorrow." I stepped into the hallway. Door closed behind me. One lock. Click. But not like a goodbye. More like a breath between chapters. Back in my room, I sat on the edge of my bed. Opened the notebook. First page. This is not a story. This is a record of what happened and what almost did. The first thing I noticed was her handwriting. Small, precise, almost clinical. As if she needed order on the page because there was none in her life. Entry 1. He used to say I was dramatic. That's how it starts. Not with bruises, but with labels. I paused. Let that settle in my bones. Then kept reading. Entry 4. He never hit me. He didn't have to. His words knew where to land. Entry 6. The first time I cried in the shower, it was because I didn't want to explain why I was crying. Now it's just where I go when my face forgets how to pretend. Entry 9. Everyone thinks the worst thing is being hurt. It's not. It's being hurt and not believed. I stopped there. Closed the notebook. Held it against my chest. Because something about the way she wrote felt too much like looking into a mirror I didn't remember building. I didn't know her name. I didn't know her full story. But I knew this feeling. Being made smaller. Until you start folding yourself on your own. I opened the notebook again the next morning. I read 3 pages. Then 4. Each one sharper than the last. Not confessional. Not dramatic. Just honest. Painfully so. Entry 12. He didn't knock the last time. Just used the key. That's when I left. Entry 13. This hotel was never meant to be safety, just silence. Entry 14. I think people assume I'm hiding. I'm not. I'm waiting. For what? I don't know, but I want to feel something that isn't fear. That line stayed with me. I want to feel something that isn't fear. Isn't that all any of us really want? That evening, I knocked again. And this time, when the door opened, she looked lighter. Not healed. Not happy. But less folded. She wore the same oversized sweatshirt. But her hair was brushed. And she'd lit a candle. A small one on the windowsill. Vanilla and something faintly citrus. The air smelled alive. She gestured to the edge of the bed. I sat. She didn't. She paced, slow, deliberate circles. Then finally said, I used to write about him, now I just write around him. I looked at her. What do you mean? She stopped. Stared at the ceiling. It's not about what he did anymore. It's about what it did to me. What I've become in the echo of it. She sat beside me. Turned toward the wall. Not facing me. Just present. Do you think people can heal in the same place they were broken? She asked. I don't know, I said truthfully. She nodded. Me neither. A beat. Then, but maybe if someone's watching, it hurts a little less. That night, I didn't return to my room immediately. We sat in the dark together. No talking. No candles. Just the quiet weight of two women, learning how to share air, without apologizing for the space they take up. When I got back, I left a note under her door. You're not what happened to you. You're what you decide to build afterward. I didn't sign it. But I knew she'd know. She didn't look at me when she said it. She was sitting on the edge of the bed again, eyes fixed on the floor, as if the words were coming from somewhere under the carpet. I didn't leave him. Not right away. I nodded slowly. Waited. She swallowed hard. I left a version of him. But the rest of him followed. That sentence made my chest tighten. Is he here? I asked quietly. She shook her head. Then nodded. Both. Neither. Not in the hotel, not in the room. But everywhere else. Everywhere I go that feels like silence. I understood. Sometimes trauma doesn't stalk you in footsteps. Sometimes it shows up in how you flinch when nothing's there. In how you scan every crowd for a familiar face you hope not to see. In how you hear your name in a stranger's tone, and suddenly you're drowning again. Then she said it. The thing she hadn't before. He never touched me. Not with hands. But with doors. And silence. And rooms I couldn't leave without apologizing. I felt that like a bruise beneath my ribs. She stood. Walked slowly to the closet near the bathroom. Hesitated. Then took out a tiny silver key from her pocket. I've never shown this to anyone, she whispered. She unlocked the door. Swung it open. Inside, a duffel bag. Neat. Perfectly zipped. She knelt. Unzipped it halfway. Then pulled out a handful of items. A phone with a shattered screen. A folded restraining order. A child's drawing. And a small black recorder. My heart skipped. He doesn't know I kept this, she said, lifting the recorder. Is there? She cut me off. He didn't say anything illegal, he never does. But I needed proof, for me. She pressed play. The room filled with a voice I didn't expect. Smooth, calm, loving. The kind of voice you'd trust with your life. You overreacted again. I was just trying to talk to you. If you'd stop crying, we could actually make progress. Click. You always turn people against me. You want to feel like a victim, don't you? Click. You think anyone else would love you like I do? I'm the only one who stays. She stopped the tape. Looked at me. That voice still lives in my spine. We sat in silence. Not because there was nothing to say, but because too much had been said already. Some truths don't need answers. Just witnesses. I don't play it often, she said. But sometimes I need to remind myself that I didn't imagine him. I reached across the space between us. Placed my hand lightly on hers. And for the first time, she didn't pull away. After a long pause, she asked, do you think it still counts as abuse? If no one ever sees a mark? I looked at her. It counts even if no one believes it. It counts even if the only place it bruised was your memory. She exhaled. And I saw it. Just a flicker of relief. Like someone loosening a rope that's been tied around their throat for too long. That night, I sat in my room and listened to my own breathing. For the first time, I wondered how many other women were hiding in quiet rooms, holding their truth in locked closets, and how many were still apologizing for surviving. It was late afternoon when they came. Two plainclothes officers, clipboards, neutral expressions, the kind that are trained not to scare you. They didn't knock on my door. Not at first. They started at the front desk. I overheard pieces. Checking the registry, stayed under false ID, wanted for questioning. I froze. Because something about the way they spoke, not urgent, but deliberate, made my skin buzz. I stepped closer, pretending to pour coffee from the stale lobby thermos. Then I heard it. The name. His name. Not hers. Not room 5. His. I hurried upstairs. Heart pounding. Mouth dry. I knocked on her door. Once. Twice. No answer. I bent down, slipped a note under. They're here, not for you, but for him. No reply. 30 minutes passed. Then an hour. When I knocked again, the door creaked open. Not wide. Just enough to show me. She was gone. The bed, made. Not perfectly, but intentionally. The notebook, gone. The bag, gone. The matchbook, gone. All that remained, a single sticky note on the mirror. Thank you for seeing me. Nothing else. I sat on the edge of the bed. Her bed. And for a moment, I thought I might cry. But I didn't. Because this wasn't tragedy. This was escape. A woman who had once whispered in showers, had now walked out the front door, without apologizing. Downstairs, the officers asked me, "Have you seen this man?" They held up a photo. I recognized the curve of his jaw, the smile that didn't reach his eyes. I looked up at them and said, "He's not here." Because he wasn't. Not anymore. Later, I asked the front desk if anyone had seen room 5's guest leave. They shook their head. She must have gone out the back, the girl said, didn't check out. I nodded. She wasn't that kind of guest. That night, the hotel was too quiet. Not just absence of noise quiet. But something's missing quiet. A presence no longer pressing behind walls. A shadow no longer stretching under doorways. I didn't hear the water. Didn't hear the weeping. Just stillness. At midnight, I stood in the hallway outside her room. Let my palm rest gently on the door. And whispered, "You made it." Back in my room, I found something under my pillow. Not left by staff. By her. A photograph. Faded. Edges curled. A woman, younger, softer, standing in front of a yellow door. Eyes wary. But open. And on the back. "This is who I was. I'm going to find her again." The hotel was colder without her. Funny how someone you never touch, never name, can still leave a dent in the air when they go. I stayed another night. Not because I needed to. But because I wasn't ready to leave the space where she finally let herself be real. In the morning, I went to the bar. Ordered tea I didn't want. Same bartender. Same tired counter. I asked him, "Did she ever come down here, even once?" He shook his head. Then paused. "Wait, there was one night," he said. Maybe 3 days ago? Some woman asked for a pen. My breath caught. He continued. She didn't order anything, just sat there for a few minutes, scribbling. Then left this. He reached under the counter and pulled out a folded napkin. My name was on it. No envelope, no message, just, "You gave me my story back." My fingers shook. I asked, "Did she say where she was going?" He shook his head. But she smiled when she walked out. Like she had somewhere to go for the first time. I took the napkin back to my room and smoothed it out like scripture. The ink had bled in places, but the meaning stayed. She wasn't just gone. She was gone forward. I checked out the next morning. At the desk, the girl asked, "Did you enjoy your stay?" I looked around. At the hallway. At the worn carpet. At the number 5. Then said, "I'll never forget it." Outside, I paused on the sidewalk. Cool air. Sun low. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel like I was carrying someone else's sadness. I was carrying something else. Something warmer. Maybe even hope. Back home, I kept the photo she left. Framed it. Hung it above my desk. And on days when I felt like disappearing, I looked at her standing in front of that yellow door, and reminded myself, "You are allowed to leave. You are allowed to return. You are allowed to be seen." A week later, a postcard arrived. No return address. Just 3 words. "It's beautiful here." And below that, in different handwriting, lighter, freer. "I'm louder now." I couldn't stop thinking about her voice. The way it trembled. The way it repeated things no one should ever have to say twice. The way it finally stopped apologizing. And the way it changed me. I opened a blank document. Typed the title before I knew what I was writing. The Woman in Room 5. Not her name. Not her trauma. Just the room. Because that's all the world ever saw of her. A door. A number. A silence. I wanted to show them the rest. I wrote for hours. Not in order. Not neatly. Just poured everything onto the screen. What I heard. What I saw. What I felt in the pauses between her sentences. What it's like to sit beside someone who isn't asking to be saved, but simply not to be erased. I didn't add drama. Didn't invent what wasn't there. I told the truth the way she had lived it, softly, with care, as if even on paper she deserved gentleness. And when I was done, I read it out loud. To no one. But I imagined her hearing it. And smiling. I submitted it to a small online journal. One that published anonymous essays about women and silence, and everything in between. No byline. No title more than the room. And in the About the Author section, I wrote, "For the ones who never got to leave." 2 weeks later, they published it. I expected nothing. But the emails came anyway. From strangers. From women in Canada, Brazil, Ohio, Korea. From people I would never meet. Each one began the same way. I thought it was just me. They talked about men who never raised a hand, but lowered their lives. About showers where tears went unseen. About notebooks tucked under mattresses. About closets with more than clothes in them. One woman wrote, "I kept my truth so quiet I forgot what it sounded like. Your story reminded me I still have a voice." Another said, "I was room 5 once. Now I'm room 6. And I sleep with the door open." I printed every message. Slipped them into a folder labeled, "Witnesses." Not victims. Not survivors. Witnesses. To each other. To ourselves. to pain that didn't ask permission, and healing that didn't wait for perfect timing. One night, I returned to the hotel. Not to check in, just to stand outside. The windows looked smaller than I remembered. The building less haunted. Maybe I had changed. Maybe she had. Maybe we both had. I closed my eyes and whispered into the night. You were never just a number. Back home, I picked up her photograph again. The one she left behind. That cautious smile. That yellow door. And beneath it, I wrote, "Gone forward." The letter came in a plain envelope. No return address. No handwriting I recognized. Inside, a single sheet. Typed. Minimal. Carefully folded. You probably weren't expecting this. But I couldn't leave the story unfinished. Not after what you gave me. I read it. All of it. Yes, even the parts where you guessed. You were right more often than not. I was afraid someone would see me and make me smaller again. Instead, you saw me and made me real. I paused, pressing the paper against my chest. Then read on. You asked once if people could heal in the same place they were broken. I still don't know. But I do know this. It helps if someone is there to hold the silence while you try. I breathed slowly. Let the words sink into the space she left behind. They didn't ache. They didn't scratch. They simply landed. Like rain on dry earth. I'm somewhere warm now. I say my name out loud in shops. I sleep with the window open. Some nights I still hear him. But he doesn't live here anymore. I do. The letter ended without a signature. But it didn't need one. Because I knew. I had always known. And now, so did she. I folded the letter. Placed it in the same drawer where I kept her photo. Her napkin. The matchbook. Not as relics. But as evidence. That we met. That she was here. That I listened. And that she left different than she came. Some days I still think of room 5. Not the walls. Not the number. But the girl behind the door, who whispered pain into water, and found the courage to become louder, without raising her voice. And when I walk past quiet buildings now, I don't look for ghosts. I listen. Because I know somewhere. Someone is whispering. You said it wouldn't hurt. And hoping someone on the other side of the wall finally hears them.